Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us as we wrap up our third week of session spotlights for Convergence 2026. This is an opportunity for you to get to know our upcoming leaders, learn about their sessions, and give you a better idea of what you would like to sign up for during Convergence of 2026. Today, we will be hearing from Angela Schneider, David Heustess, Dell Christy, Don Ahlert, and Janney Simpson. Registration is open. Priority registration is ongoing, and general registration will begin on November 10th. So if you're interested in getting a head start on signing up and want to get in that class before it fills in, please head online or give us a call and we would be happy to help. As a reminder, Convergence 2026 will be taking place in New Orleans, Louisiana from August 12th through the 16th. You can find a digital copy of the registration booklet online. There, you'll see all kinds of information about the different sessions and events taking place, including the marketplace, exhibitions, fashion show, keynote speaker, tours, and more. We'll be hosting over 100 sessions ranging from 90-minute seminars to 3-day workshops. As we learn more about some of these workshops today, please put any questions that you have in the Q&A section. This is a great time to get answers directly from the instructors. First up, we are welcoming Angela Schneider, who's going to be talking about Bejeweled yarns.
Hi, Erica, and thank you for having us on today to talk about our dresses.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us.
Show you some pictures of what we're going to be doing in Bejeweled yarns. This is a technique for novelty yarns that have flecks of color and texture in them. And this is also known as garneting because we're recycling scraps into the new yarns. I'm going to start out with some wool roving in various colors. I should be advancing. There we go. So I'm going to start out with some wool roving and this pile of stuff to add in. And this might look familiar to you if you're a weaver. You're used to having lots of thrums. These are loom waste. This particular pile is some rayon textured clay yarns that I love to use as an add-in. Some other options are the sari silk threads or little scraps of fabric, but I'll have some rayon and some silk that we can work with in the workshop. So we're going to pick some things to blend, and I'll show you the technique for prepping the add-ins, how you cut them to size and shred them down into, well, not quite all the way back down into their component fibers, but you get them ready to mix and blend them with new yarns. And we'll do some samples where we test how big to cut the pieces or how fine to shred them, so you can get either lots of textured bits or you can get things that are going to be really smooth because you've got smaller, finer pieces that are better blended. So we'll make a bunch of roll eggs and then you'll spin the yarn, and in an hour and a half, don't expect to fill a bobbin. We're just going to make small samples, testing the different variables, but you can use them then to weave up or knit fabric with lots of bright speckles of contrast, or if you prefer, you can match your thrums to your base yarn and get things that are smooth transitions and flecks that really just show up as texture because your color matches. We're going to be working a little bit with making your color choices in addition to adjusting your textures. There's another sample just to show you I've kept the base yarn the same and I've changed textures, so you can create gradients by just using what's in your texture. It's a technique that I love using because, first of all, I get lots of waste that's just really pretty colors, and I can use it to make unique yarns that are really fun to spin because of how much options you have to play with your colors and your textures as you spin. So for this session is going to be Saturday, August 15th in the afternoon from 1:30 to 3 o'clock. It's the early afternoon session. It's for spinners that already know how to spin a basic yarn. So it's not a spinning workshop so much as it is a how to do the novelty yarn, the fiber preparation and the blending for the spinning. So it works with multiple spinning techniques. If you happen to take the woolen spinning class on Saturday morning, that's going to work really well together with this class because you can use those techniques to spin your relax that we'll be making. The materials fee is $10, and that includes the roving that I'm going to bring and all of the add-in fibers. I will have some yarn scraps and some silk threads and maybe a few other things. Um, you are welcome to bring your own yarn scraps if you have some thrums that you just wish you could use because it's such a pretty yarn, but it's too short to weave with again. What you need to bring is your spinning wheel. If you're comfortable working with a hand spindle, you can bring a hand spindle. E-spinners are perfectly acceptable. Again, it's not about the spinning technique so much as the um, preparation techniques. So something to spin your samples with. You'll need a pair of wool carders. If you're proficient with a blending board, you're welcome to bring that also to work with, but I'll be focusing most on working with the wool carders, and you will need those anyway in order to prepare your fibers for garnetting. You'll need a pair of scissors. I'll have a couple of extras on hand, and then a nitty knotty or some other way to measure off your little skeins and tags for marking what you've done so you can tell them apart when you get home and your brain's completely full with all of the other wonderful things that you've learned at Convergence. And I'd also like to mention that on Thursday, there's a one-day workshop with Debbie held called Garneting for Textured Effects in Spinning and Weaving. And you might wonder what's the difference between bejeweled yarns and garneting yarns. They're the same thing. This is garneted yarns that I'll be working with. And the 90 minutes that I'll be doing, of course, is going to be more of a crash course with the basic technique, testing a couple of variations of it, and spinning a few samples. And Debbie's class on Wednesday being a full day, of course, she's going to go a lot deeper into the technique and have more options for garneting and history of what things were being used. So you've got choices, whether you need just a little bit of an introduction or if you need a full day immersion, or if you have another class you want to take that's in one of those time slots, because I know that's one of the troubles with Convergence is what do I take? There's so many interesting things. So you've got choices whether you'd like the short class or the long one. But it's going to be a fun time playing with lots of color, and you get to tear up yarns and put them back together. And so please come and spin with me on Saturday the 15th. Thanks, Erica. Are there any questions?
Oh, sorry, I had a struggle there getting myself unmuted. That was so thorough. Thank you so much. I think all of the things that I was thinking about asking you really covered, especially here at the end. I think the only thing maybe that I might be curious about is, like you said, you're not spinning full bobbins. You're just going to be making a bunch of these samples. How much length do you maybe expect these samples to end up being?
It depends on how thick you spin it, of course, but how many do I? Now I'm trying to remember how much yardage I get out of a single row lag. I know that when I do a scarf, like this one that I'm wearing is one of the scarves that uses this technique. It takes me about 30 row lags to do an Inspire scarf. So that's, I don't know, 5 to 10 yards off of a row lag, depending on how thick you spin it. So that's how big your samples will be, and you can make multiple row lags that are the same, or you can switch and try another technique. So they'll be
Okay,
you
so
might end
that's
up with
still a
50
pretty good
yards.
amount.
Yeah.
Pretty good amount. Alrighty, well, let me switch this over. We've got a little bit of tech change in the back end here. So thank you again. That was Angela Schneider, who was talking about the Bejeweled Yarns class, which is a 90-minute seminar taking place on Thursday, August 13th. Up next, we welcome David Heustess, who's going to be talking about all knotted up Shibori.
There we go.
Your
I,
camera's still off. We can hear you, but we can't
yes,
see you yet.
I'm clicking and I'm getting a message. You cannot. Oh, I think
Okay.
you all had to disable my camera. There we go.
Well, I just sent you a message. Let's see if
Who
you
don't
have
want to see
it.
this pretty face, right?
Welcome.
Oh my gosh. So there we go. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Erica, for hosting us today, and thank you to all the staff at HGA for everything that they do for fiber artists in the world, actually. I'm David Heustess. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. However, I'm a member of the New York Handweavers Guild. Give a shout out to them. And I am excited to be coming back to my third Convergence. And I'm excited about New Orleans. So, as it's a city I haven't visited in quite a number of years. Today, I'd like to talk a little bit about the 3 hour session that I'm teaching called All Knotted Up. It's a class where we will explore the basic two knots of Shibori, but I have some variations and some secrets that I'm not seeing other people do with the knots. So I'm excited to be able to share that with you. And because I've done some traveling now with like the whole dye kitchen, I recently discovered I was like, how do I do this and make it an easy travel, plus a workshop where you do not have to bring anything except for an open attitude towards exploring. So I recently discovered Bengala mud dyes, and they are user-friendly. They are low water, and there's no pre-soaking or washing, rinsing after your dyes are set. They actually set, if we use that word, as they dry on a drying rack or on the shower rod in your hotel room or your Airbnb. So you will have a scarf and maybe some other fabrics to show off during the weekend at Convergence. I'm going to share my screen as I talk about this just a little bit more. We got that, and do you see the knotted fabric there?
We see a picture of like, well, it's like your whole slide 13. There's like four color swatches of fabric,
Yes,
circles
thank you.
on it. Great.
Yes. So this is one example of using a shibori knot. This is actually hand woven fabric that I found in Peru. And I've been doing shibori since 1992. Started while I was in art school at the Appalachian Center for Crafts. And in 2022, I had the opportunity to go study tapestry with Maximo Laura. So while I was there, I went to the Textile Museum, the Pre-Columbian Textile Museum in Lima. And the last thing I expected, although I know better, shibori is a worldwide technique, not just limited to Japan. But the last thing I expected was to go around a corner in the exhibit and see the word shibori on the wall and a very similar piece to this fabric. So it's hand woven wool, probably alpaca. It's very, very fine hand spun threads. And you can see here in a way that we will be working, someone or several someones pinched up the white fabric, tied it into knots, and then dipped it into a yellow dye. Yes, dipped it into a yellow dye. So they would have ended up, if they stopped right there, they would have ended up with white squares on a yellow background. But then they knotted up some of the yellow. I'm looking at that top left section. And they dipped the yellow fabric into indigo, which created the green. And that's where they stopped with that panel. There's 4 separate panels that were hand woven and hand dyed, all with natural dyes, this particular fabric, and then sewn together to make a lap blanket, a shawl, however you would like to use it. So it's just a beautiful example of just this one community in Peru that works this way, and hopefully an inspiring picture for you to think about taking this class. Shibori is the technique of compressing, tying, folding, clamping, twisting, almost anything that you can do to scrunch up the fabric, if we want to say it that way. And then any dye technique will work with it. So I've been able to work with several groups with the Bengala mud dyes and know that this will work successfully as well. So a little exposure to Shibori, possibly a new dye technique, and a lot of fun energy and aha moments throughout the 3 hours that we will be together. And like I said, you will not have to bring anything to this workshop.
Wonderful. So they can just show up as they are. Is there anything they should know before they come up to this workshop, or is beginners, no experience welcome?
You know, I love all levels of experience because someone always has something to share from their experiences, and we certainly will have time for those kind of conversations. But I will admit that I do love a beginner, someone who has never tried anything like this before, and it's just kind of fun to watch. It's like watching a young child on their birthday or Christmas morning or special holiday or something. It's you go through this process and you start opening it back up, and it is very much like unwrapping a present that someone has given you. And no two will be exactly alike because we'll all make some different choices along the way, different colors, different variations on the techniques. Um, you might even leave with more information than you can do in 3 hours, but my hope is that you're inspired enough to continue to do this for years to come. So it's really a good intro to Shibori and to these what are new to me types of dyes.
I love that. Thank you so much. And I love that they get to kind of walk away. Like you said, they might have some pieces that they get to wear, and they get to just show up as is. So just so listeners know, there is a $20 material fee that comes along with this class, but otherwise you get to just show up as you are. So thank
Yes,
you
maybe
so
you
much.
have something fun to wear to the fashion show that
Yeah, make
evening.
a
Yeah.
statement piece.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, David, for sharing.
Thank you.
Again, that was David Heustess talking about the All Knotted Up Shibori workshop, which is a 3-hour hands-on seminar taking place Saturday, August 15th.
That's a correction. That's actually going to be Wednesday. We've got an error on that slideshow.
Okay. Well, we're getting a lovely view of your pup right now.
See, I don't know what is happening. I keep hitting the right thing and it keeps showing my desktop. So I apologize to all of you, but
I
here
don't
we
think
go.
anybody's going to be upset about seeing a little
No.
fluff ball like that.
Well, I appreciate you all because we're having tech issues on the back end. So here we are. But we will
All
get
right,
the
but
dates
this
fixed,
is
and that is Wednesday. So
Wednesday.
next up is Dell Christy. And I'm not sure if that's dates right either. So I'll double check those. Dell, if you want to go ahead and unmute.
It's not letting me start my video. There we go. Hi, everyone. I'm Dell Christy, and I will be teaching a class on Tenneriffe lace. And let me share my screen here. Tenneriffe lace is Hang on. There we go. Tenneriffe lace is woven on foundation. There's several different types of foundations. We're specifically going to be working in circles for this class. Starting off with these are the designs that are in the kit. We'll only be doing 2, maybe get started on a 3rd one in class, but you'll have the material to do all of them. We'll start with the one on the top left, which is all about the specific knots that you need to use when you're making Tenneriffe lace. And then we'll probably do the sun here on the right, because that's a little bit simpler than the one below that has the little key designs. But let me see if this one, yeah. So this is my own work with that first one. And then I started working on the key designs. It's not a very clear picture, and I apologize for that. But that's one that I'm currently working on. And then Tenneriffe lace itself is normally done in white, but there are versions of it that are done in colors. You can add beads. So beyond the basics here, you can do things like this. So I've got a sun and a moon here that include beads and colored yarn and that kind of thing. Tenneriffe lace can also be done as squares or triangles or teardrops. But like I said, we're going to be focusing on circles here. The class is all day on Sunday. I've got a $20 materials fee that includes the kit and a few other odds and ends of things. Handout for supplies, you need to bring a small pair of sharp scissors. If you want them, you can bring like a task light of some sort. Handheld is not the best. And magnifying of some sort. Here again, handheld is not the best. You want both hands free to be able to work on this. And in particular, to be able to hold the circle that's the template for doing the lace. It's a lot of fun. It's very portable in this form. There's other forms of kind of bases to work this on, but this particular one is very portable. It's easy to stuff it in a small bag and take it with you. And it's just a lot of fun to do, and there's some cool things you can do, you can make with it. So, and that's what I have.
Lace is so foreign to me, and this is so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing these pictures. So I have perhaps a silly question, kind of, looking at these. Is the structure of this kind of lace gonna produce something sturdy, kind of like a doily, like you could use as like a
not necessarily doilies, although you can do that. I have seen them sewn onto clothing.
Okay.
I have, and one of the images that you have for the program is a piece that came from my mother that was in a house that she and my stepdad bought at one point, and it's a whole bunch of these sewn together, not just circles, lots of different types of pieces and stuff. So you can make some wonderful wall hangings from it. These two I'm going to put on a bag.
Oh, I love that idea.
So there's lots of different things you can do with them.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for giving us a deeper dive into this class, and highlighting there's not very much that folks have to bring with that $20 kit and handout. So that's wonderful.
That's the piece that I was talking about that has all of the
how they're
different
all
stuff.
connected.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Again, that was Del Christie, and we're going to see if I can say this right, talking about the beginning Tenerife.
Tenerife.
Tenerife. I was so close. Little Woven Circles, which is a one-day workshop taking place on Sunday, August 16th. And before we move forward, we are going to circle back. We're blaming Halloween over here playing tricks on us. We just want to highlight the dates, the correct dates and times for these other workshops. So we had Angela Schneider for the Bejeweled Yarns, which is a 90-minute seminar on Saturday, August 15th. And then for David Heustess' All Knotted Up Shibori, that 3-hour seminar is on Wednesday, August 12th. Up next, we welcome Dawn Ahlert, who's going to be talking about finger manipulated lace weaves.
Am I on?
You are.
Okay, here we go. For some reason, I'm not seeing myself, so that's kind of weird. But anyway, hello. Thank you guys for having me. I am so excited to be here. This is my first time teaching at Convergence, although I've been attending Convergence since the 2000s. So happy days. And I am teaching 2 classes. This is the first one. It's a full day. Oh, you're not supposed to be going without me. Sorry. This thing is, okay, I'm sorry. On my side, it looks really weird. So anyway, so this is the class on finger manipulated lace weaves, and that sounds really uptight kind of title, but I expect this to be very fun and open. There's basically 4 techniques that we're going to work on throughout the day. This is not a round robin, so you can work at your own loom, at your own pace. These are the different lace weaves that we will explore. And basically the way I have the class is we'll do lino during the first morning session, take a break, go to Brooks Bouquet, go to lunch, Spanish lace, break, and Danish medallions. And so that's what I was talking about, where you can pick and choose. So I will introduce all these, and if we're on Spanish lace and you're like, oh, I don't care for that, I want to go back and try another one of these linos, you can do that. Okay. So all that's needed is basically a 2 harness loom. If you have more, that's fine. And if you're bringing, a table loom or a floor loom for another class, that's great. If you want to just bring the rigid heddle to make life easy for travel, it'll be fine, because we're really not going to be weaving and beading that much. We're going to be working on the actual techniques that are worked through your hands. So it's a slow weaving process. We're going to work in plain weave, and we'll use hopefully either a 3-2, a 5-2, or A2 cotton, even a 10-2 if you have it, although it might be a little bit fussy if you're getting smaller. But yeah, I don't think an 8-4 cotton warp would be as pretty. So that's why I suggest that. Like I say, we're going to be working on linos. Here is a sampler with a couple of different techniques. We have linos at the top, and then up until the middle, and then the very bottom is a different technique. So these are some of the techniques that we can practice during that morning session. And boy, stop going so fast. I have videos that I show of when we're working on this, and you can see this is a clip from a video that we can get really close up, and you can really see what you need to do with your pickup stick. I really don't like the idea of having students come over, and I've done it myself, trying to get in and see what the instructor is doing. So I make these videos of really large images, so you can really see, and of course I can always pause it and rewind and things like that, so it makes it easier. to go into. So this is a clip from one of the videos. This is an image of one of the linos, and I have this in an instruction booklet that I give you with the instructions, and I give you pictures of each piece so you really see close up what the piece is going to look like and what you're doing. Again, you know, another still that I took from the videos. So, and again, you'll see these in your instruction booklet. So when you're going to do the technique, you're like, okay, what is that going to look like, hopefully? And there you go. And then this is another clip from a video, and I explain how you go in, you do your pickup, and then you go in with an extra stick to open up the shed, and then you can pass your weft and hold those techniques that you just did. So like I say, it's more about lifting and doing the techniques, and then you'll throw a weft shed every so often, so to hold it in place. Okay, the second technique we're going to go through is Brooks Bouquet, and I also have this in the instruction booklet, this diagram, so you can really see what's going on here and how to create the wrap. And then here it is in the video that I give, and you can see towards the bottom that wrap that we talk about, and I stop the video and I go in with a pointer and really explain this so you can see what's going on. And then that would be the morning session. The afternoon would be Spanish lace. And again, oh, hey, go back. Go back. What are you doing? Don't do that. Sorry. Okay. So I go in and I have this in the booklet, a picture of what we're going to do. And again, another one. But I have, sorry, I have, I'm going to go through this real quick. Sorry. I have videos again on the Spanish lace. And then the final technique that we're going to go through is Danish medallion. In this, and I have these samples that I bring with me. I have a ton of samples. In this video, you'll see the lino at the top and different kind of designs you can do with it. And then the white thick and then the blue in the middle of this sample is the Danish medallion. So you'll see you know, how to do that, which I'll show you. And the bottom of the sample is the Brooks Bouquet. That's another kind of pattern that you can create. So again, here I go with showing you a video of how to do it, concentrating on what we're doing here. Let's go. Come on, next. Okay, and again, close-up video that I'm showing of how you actually create this design, and we can stop and review it a million times and what have you. And this is an interesting where you're actually using a crochet hook to create the design, create the technique. So basically, that's what I have. Stop share, I guess. Yeah, so it's going to be fun. It's going to be moving pretty quick for one day to introduce all these, but this is a technique that you would use probably more as an embellishment than an actual full piece of working a lace, like a towel or something like that. In that case, you would probably opt to a loom manipulated versus a finger manipulated, where you're threading your loom to create the lace. In this case, very simple. Could be a rigid heddle, could be, you know, a floor table loom with a basic plain weave, and we're going to be doing these embellishments on the plain weave. So I say advanced beginner because you have to have your loom warped, but besides that, you don't need to know anything else.
Wonderful. Okay, so no other prerequisite experience beyond setting up the loom and plain weave.
Correct.
Wonderful. Cool. We love these beginner classes. Let's everybody in.
Yes.
And I apologize if you mentioned this earlier when you were talking about the loom and you said it, it's pre-warped and it's in that plain weave structure. Is there a length that they should know about, like how
There
much
is.
yardage to put
Yeah.
on?
Usually I say about 2.5 yards. I don't like to go crazy with the length of the warp because we're not going to have that much done in class, and that gives them enough to go home and play with it a little bit more. I know, just I'm sensitive from taking classes myself, that they'll say a 4 or 6 yard warp, and it just seems like too much. Okay, I try the technique, I'm not crazy about it, and I have all this warp left over. So if you want to make a longer warp, great. But usually it's a short warp, and I have an instruction uh, handout and everything that I send to the participants well before the class, so they know what to expect, how long, a warp, what the set is, all that kind of stuff. So the participant will be very informed when they come. And of course, there's always the option to send me questions before time.
Perfect. Thank you. No, I agree with that. And I think, we've got a lot of folks that borrow looms during this conference too. So
Yeah.
being able to accomplish what you set out for in the day is wonderful.
I
Is there
try to be
anything
very
else?
conscious about what I've gone through and what I didn't care for, and try not to make other people do that too.
Is there anything else that they need to bring with them to class beyond the pre-warped loom? Like
Like I
tools
said,
for
just the
extra yarn?
basics, they'll be bringing some weft material. I recommend some kind of like novelty yarn, something thicker when we try the Spanish lace and the Danish medallions. And again, that'll be laid out. And then just basic tools, a light if you need it. I can't work without tapestry needles, so I suggest a tapestry needle. Um, and yeah, just scissors and basic things that you like to work with when you weave. And if you don't know what you like, I will of course talk about all those different things and little cheats and things that I like to do that I feel like makes life easier. So that'll be another introduction. I also talk about, and I didn't put this in my slides, how to create a beautiful turned hem. So it lays flat and whatever. And I introduce that at the beginning of the class. So I am gearing this towards beginners, but of course, experienced weavers can come. And I always, like David was saying, I always love to hear what other people have to say about their experiences. And I've had in this class people try different designs and different yarns, and it's been really fun that we can share that with everyone and say, oh, look what Joan did over here, this is very cool. So
The
yeah.
magic of the classroom.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for giving us a deeper look at the class. Again, that was Dawn Ahlert talking about the Finger Manipulated Lace Weaves one-day workshop taking place on Wednesday, August 12th. And last but not least today, we welcome Janney Simpson, who's going to be talking about deflected double weave, connections, layers, and pockets.
Hi there. Wow. I would like to take all these classes. These spotlights have been wonderful. Um, thank you. Thank you so much for hosting this, Erica and Elizabeth, and everything that HGA does for us. It's phenomenal. I'm coming back to teach the same class for the fourth time, and it's been an honor. Thank you again. Great opportunity for me. I love sharing what I do with deflected double weave. So I will share my screen. I'll get to the beginning here. Okay. Can everyone see that? Are we good?
Yep, it looks beautiful.
Okay. Okay. So um, I have titled this workshop Connections, Layers, and Pockets because I've taken deflected double weave on a little ride a little bit different than most of what's out there in the literature. And I've had just a great time with this over the last 10, 12 years. Angela has helped me along the way. I had a wonderful meeting with her in Connecticut many years ago, and she shared a skeleton tie-up with us, and that's been highly instrumental in me not having to get under the loom so many times to make this happen. So connections, layers, and pockets has been my little coin term because I have these areas in my work where it is just deflected double weave. And then I have areas where I have layers, perhaps down the arms of a scarf or a shawl that are done with just traditional 2-layer weaving. And then the pocket is more or less where you could put your head through it, or you could put one end of the scarf through, and the next picture will show that a little bit better. So that's where that title came from. So here we are. Here's a little pocket or sleeve where a scarf is being slipped right through. It doesn't come off your neck or fall off your shoulders. And then layers, these are just 2 layers of traditional double weave in plain weave. And I show people how to get these lacy little squares or eliminate the lacy little squares. You can do that too. And how to integrate a sleeve or pocket within a scarf. And of course, weaving deflected double weave, because it has 2 sets of salvages, there are tricks to make that happen without interactions on the edges that you don't want to have happen. So I go through all of these techniques very carefully in the very beginning of this 2-day class, which is Saturday and Sunday at the end of the week, and make sure that the fundamentals are covered and that people are really comfortable with these basic techniques before I move on. And these are just slides of the first scarves that I did with this technique. And one of them was published way, way back in 2016 in Handwoven magazine. But the way that we can do this is because deflected double weave is usually threaded in a block sequence in an odd, even manner. That's why we can add traditional layers to deflected double weave. And you really only need 2 shafts per layer. So you could actually have 4 layers of cloth plus deflected double weave in your piece if you wanted to. I haven't pushed it that far. I do usually have just the 2 layers and then sometimes 3. 4 layers, that those layers become much like cheesecloth, but you could do it. So this is what I've been focused on for quite a while now, and it's combining plain weave layers with deflected double weave, and you can really do this in many different ways. It doesn't have to be symmetrical. It can be just a little bit of layering at the end of the scarf or however you like it. It's really infinite in terms of what you can do with this. So this goes way back to 1957. There's a draft in Mary Miggs' Atwater recipe book. And since that time, I think it was sort of a sleeper in the beginning, but it's a hot topic now, and there are many, many resources and patterns out there now for deflected double weave, and you can absolutely go to those resources. And I do give people a long list of resources for them to have in the handout. This is a picture of deflected double weave on the left on the loom. And you can see this is a striped warp with 2 different yarns. I usually use a wool or wool silk against a rayon, tencel, or bamboo, or just silk. And that helps give you this yummy cloth in the end. It just, when it's off the loom, it deflects and it moves and it morphs and squares turn into circles, and it's really, really fun. And you can make up your own patterns. So I always get the question, like, what is deflected double weave? So on 8 shafts, it's basically plain weave with adjacent warp and weft floats. So you can see from this pattern right here, it's plain weave, warp floats, plain weave, weft floats, plain weave, weft floats, plain weave, warp floats, and plain weave again. And this changes as you treadle this structure. So the warp floats will be surrounded by plain weave and so on down the line. And when it comes off, it just changes. This shape right here would be a circle. So it's pretty exciting cloth. It's fun to weave. Here's a bold black and white just to point out these salvage issues again. The white weft will weave just to its own edge, and then the black will weave to all the way to the outside of your warp. There's a system that I've worked out so I know where to put my shuttle before I weave the next 8 or 10 picks. And I share all of those tips with my students. So I just made this little summary of what we'll be learning in the 2-day workshop, how to weave deflected double weave with 2 sets of salvages, how to add traditional double layers of cloth, how to weave a variety of shapes in deflected double weave, how to create your own designs. And we also explore many other techniques, such as inserting embellishments like shisha mirrors or little plastic diamonds or coins or buttons or things like that, just embellishment things that you might have at home. I've also been using active yarns as weft to create a collapsed area, usually around the neck of my scarves. You can also weave other structures on deflected double weave threading, such as crimp weave, which is a Diane Totten technique that I learned from her years ago. Weft controlled shibori. I share my tips on gradation warping, which is something that I like to incorporate into my work, and even a few more things that you can do with deflected double weave. My requirements are that students should be comfortable reading a draft and preparing their loom, fixing threading errors, fixing broken warp threads, things like that. I do send out directions that are very specific with 6 designs from which you can choose one. And I do that about 8 weeks before the workshop because I find that you might need a little bit extra time to find the yarns that I suggest for this workshop. You're working on your own loom that's not a round robin. 3 to 4 yards is plenty for weaving my sampler. And I do suggest if you really want a scarf after you weave the sampler, by all means, feel free to put on additional yardage. And I found in the past 3 times I've been at Convergence, some people weave off all of their yardage and hold it up for everybody after 2 days. And some people have gotten just those real basics down of deflected double weave with good edges and adding layers and swapping the layers. And it's fine. Everybody works at a different pace. Sometimes people like to work when they get home and finish the yardage at home, and sometimes not, particularly those that are renting a loom or borrowing a loom and have to return it. So this does require 8 shafts. Floor looms are or table looms are fine. I'm comfortable with both. I give lift plans and treadling sequences and directions for both kinds of looms. I do require a 10-inch minimum weaving width if I know there's a loom out there that I think is 9.5 inches. If that's the one you're bringing, just contact me and I shorten the draft just a little bit so it will fit on your loom. And a 12 or 15 dent reed, preferably. And besides that, I would say shuttles, 2 shuttles minimum, 2 bobbins. I've got something hiding under here. Oops, I want to go. Nope. Oh, there we go. Yes, broken warp thread repair items that you like to use if you have a problem. Weft material is the same as the warp material. But you're welcome to bring additional weft colors, that's fine, and small scissors, and a little bit of patience. So here's a picture of one of the samplers, one of the designs. This happens to be based on a very simple 4-shaft point twill, ABCD, CBA kind of block sequence. And you can see from this that we do a lot of weaving, changing the treadling block sequences to get lots of different geometric shapes and some channeling. And there's plenty of warp to do a little bit of the crimp weave at the end if you want to, or experiment with the active yarns. I bring the active yarns. I don't expect you to bring those. They're a little bit pricey, and I've got a stash full from many years, and I let people just borrow that material and put it right into their sampler. So here are close-ups of some of the shapes that you can get with deflected double weave. I think this was just 5 different shades of 8-2-10 cell from webs against a black wool silk. And more shapes and more channels. This isn't washed, and when this is washed, it just becomes just wonderful, a wonderful pattern. The reverse of this is exactly opposite to what you see here. So lots of ways to combine deflected double weave with the traditional layering. This is a sample of this is a point twill profile, and trailing A, B, C, D, CBA. These become rounded. Here I have thrown a crimping thread on my blocks and completing Diane Totten's technique of steaming this sample. And then you end up with permanently crimped cloth with mountains and valleys. And this makes a great cloth around your neck. It's really comfortable and it squishes down and it's very nice to wear. And here's another sample of that happening. This scarf has no deflected double weave in it, but it was woven on my deflected double weave threading. So I've had a lot of fun with this. Loom controlled weft shibori. Once again, it was woven on deflected double weave threading, and it was pulled together and then popped into the indigo dye pot. These are samples of my gradation warping technique. I'm using in both of these 4 different colors of Zephyr, the wool silk, 18-2 wool silk, and blending them across the way and same thing here. I usually start with 4 different colors. And I tell everyone how they can do that if they like that. I usually weave it against a solid rather than another gradation in the other yarn. This picture shows using the elasticized active yarn for weft, and it really cinches it in and collapses. And it does have quite a bit of just a little stretch to it. But I'm thinking about using this for a collar or cuffs or something, something like that. Here are some scarves that show this is with woven with one active yarn, and then the other one is an inactive yarn in deflected double weave, and then layers down your arms. And I also, on the second day, I bring samples. I travel with one suitcase for me and one for samples. What you can do on more shafts. So if you have 16 shafts, deflected double weave has a lot of plain weave in it usually, but in all of those plain weave places, I did this in tutu twill rather than plain weave, and that was fun, and it really gave me a different texture, very different texture than the plain weave. So that's on 16. These are triple layers of plain weave combined with deflected double weave and finished off with 2 layers. So in here, I think I had 7 different fabrics, and these are a lot of fun. You can decide which 2 you might want in the front of your neck and who's going to be on the back that day. This is just on 8 shafts. This only requires 8 shafts. It does require retying your loom, but it's worth it. And then I also talk about my more recent exploration of V-shaped shawls, which I believe Tom Knisley does lots of V-shaped shawls. And usually they're done in all plain weave. So the area where you see the deflected double weave part is a plaid, because you weave one panel and you advance the warp and you cut it off, and then you weave the next panel and then you weave the ends back in. And I tried this a few years ago during the winter up here in northern Michigan. And, you know, because you're weaving this in one pick at a time. And it's a little tedious, but the outcome is fantastic. So I've now woven many of these in different sizes, and I share how to figure out what size is best for your shape. So I think I have 3 different sizes of this V-shaped shawl woven in deflected double weave. So any questions, anytime, please contact me. It's best by email. And I hope that my workshop fills, and I'm really looking forward to it. I've never been to Louisiana, so I'm excited. And thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing all about that class. I think I actually just have one little question. When you were going over the equipment needs and the looms, it had specifically mentioned rising shed. Is that a hard, fast requirement, or if somebody has a counterbalance, would it work?
Uh, that's a great question. I had one student on a counter marsh loom in Wichita, and it was challenging. The tie-ups are different. I have been using, just a skeleton tie-up on rising shed looms mainly. And of course, the comparable lift plan on the table loom is right on. What you're doing on the skeleton with the skeleton tie up on a floor loom, you're doing with your fingers on a table loom. It's I guess my suggestion would be, if that's the kind of loom that's coming, because the Louette looms, some of those are counter marsh, and so they're a dropping shed. Contact me first so that I make sure that I bring the tie up and have that ready for you so that you can actually weave during the workshop. It worked out for this one student in Wichita just fine, but it's easier for me if they are rising sheds.
Okay, perfect.
And
Well,
I think
thank
it's
you so
easier
much.
for the students too. So yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. The pictures were beautiful. I can't wait to see what folks make. Again, that was Janney Simpson talking about the Deflected Double Weave Connections, Layers, and Pockets class, which is a 2-day workshop taking place Saturday and Sunday on August 15th and 16th. You can find more information about these classes and all of the rest of them at our website, weavespindye.org. You can head under the Convergence tab, click on Sessions and Leaders to find out more information and register. We are going to be offering these live session spotlights every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time until mid-November, and the recordings will be available on HGA's YouTube channel. So if you're interested in any other classes, please join us, and I look forward to seeing you all there.